Ivy, no car can ever measure how much I love you. But I know you've always dreamed of owning a Benz, and I'll do everything within my power to make you smile. This is my wedding gift to you.
A, a Benz? Oh my God, thank you so much. I don't even know what to say. You're truly the best. This won't work. Our own brother bought her a brand new Benz while we're still driving Toyotas? Never! Give us the key our brother gave you.
Why?
Give us that key or you'll never know peace in this house.
I'm sorry, but I can't. It's my husband's wedding gift to me.
You've only known our brother for a few months. We've spent our entire lives sacrificing for him. You'll regret this.
Ivy ignored one warning sign, and it cost her the marriage she had always dreamed of. This is the story of Ivy, a woman who thought she was marrying the love of her life, but she had no idea she was also marrying the greatest battle she would ever face. 6 months earlier, when Ivy and Kolu were still dating, everything felt perfect. They met at a friend's wedding. Ivy was one of the bridesmaids, while Kolu was one of the groomsmen. Throughout the ceremony, they found themselves talking, dancing together, and helping out wherever they could. By the end of the day, they had formed a connection neither of them expected. They stayed in touch after the wedding, and within a week, Kolu knew he wanted Ivy to be more than just a friend. He asked her out, and Ivy, impressed by his kindness and respect, said yes. Their relationship blossomed quickly. Kolu did everything he could to make Ivy happy, while Ivy cared for him with all her heart. When Kolu became certain he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her, he took her to meet his two sisters. They welcomed Ivy with open arms. There were no cold stares, no complaints, and no signs of disapproval. Instead, they showered her with gifts, prepared her favorite meal, and constantly asked if she was comfortable. They wouldn't even let her lift a finger. Ivy felt like she had found a second family, but there was one conversation she should have paid more attention to. One evening, Kolu's sister said to her, "We never got married because of our brother. While our mates were busy building businesses, getting married, and raising families, we sacrificed our own lives to take care of Kolu. Everything he has today is because of us." At first, they all laughed about it, but as the laughter faded, Ivy paused for a moment. Something about their words didn't sit right with her. She forced a smile and brushed the feeling aside, telling herself they were only joking. She had no idea that those words were the warning signs she should never have ignored. The two women were still unmarried, and they spoke as though their entire lives had been placed on hold for their brother. The warning was right in front of her, but because they had treated her with nothing but kindness, and because Kolu had never given her a reason to doubt him, Ivy pushed the thought aside. 3 months later, they stood before everyone as husband and wife. The hall was beautifully decorated. Laughter echoed through every corner, and the atmosphere was filled with joy. Even Kolu's two sisters danced and celebrated as though nothing could ever go wrong. Just when the wedding was about to end, Kolu stepped forward with a small velvet box. "I have a surprise for my wife." He opened it and revealed the key to a brand new Mercedes Benz. The hall erupted in cheers. Guests jumped to their feet, clapping and screaming with excitement, as Ivy covered her mouth in shock before throwing her arms around her husband. But across the hall, Eunice and Teresa fell silent. They stared at the Toyota car key they were holding, the one their brother had bought for them a few weeks earlier. Then they looked at the Mercedes-Benz key in Ivy's hand. The smiles on their faces disappeared. Eunice slowly turned to her sister. "So she's the one he values the most now." Teresa's eyes remained fixed on the Mercedes-Benz key. "She came yesterday, and she's already taken everything." After the ceremony, the guests gradually left for their various homes. Ivy and Kolu returned home, with his two sisters following closely behind. Still overwhelmed by everything that had happened, Ivy walked into the kitchen to have a glass of water, smiling as she admired the car key in her hand. Just as she was about to leave, Eunice stepped in front of the doorway. Before Ivy could ask what was going on, Teresa quietly shut the kitchen door. "We need that key," Eunice said, holding out her hand. Ivy chuckled, convinced they were teasing her. What do you mean? Kolu gave it to me. We know. That's why we are asking for it. The smile slowly faded from Ivy's face. I'm sorry, but I can't. It's my husband's wedding gift to me. The sisters exchanged a glance. Eunice took a slow step closer. If you know what's good for you, you will hand it over. Teresa folded her arms. You have only known our brother for a few months. We have spent our entire life sacrificing for him. Everything he has today is because of us. You don't deserve that car. Ivy stared at them, struggling to believe what she was hearing. It's a gift for my husband, she said quietly. I can't give it to anyone. For a few seconds, the room fell silent. Then Eunice leaned closer and whispered, You will regret this. The two sisters straightened their clothes, opened the kitchen door, and walked out as though nothing had happened. Ivy remained where she was. She couldn't understand what had just happened. These were the same women who had welcomed her with open arms, laughed with her, and made her feel like part of the family. Now, after hearing their threats, Ivy couldn't understand how everything had changed so quickly. She was confused and disappointed, but one thing was certain, she wasn't going to give them the key. Eunice and Teresa felt defeated. Without saying a word, they walked into their room and sat quietly, as though they were already thinking of another way to get what they wanted. Meanwhile, Ivy had already made up her mind not to tell Kolu about what had happened. She knew how much he loved his sisters, and she didn't want to create a problem between them. But as the days passed, Eunice and Teresa began complaining to Kolu. They told him that Ivy would eventually bring division into their peaceful family, and begged him to divorce her before it was too late. But Kolu never saw any reason to do so. He always gave them the same answer. Ivy hasn't done anything wrong. Give her some time. You will learn to love her. That was the same answer he gave them every time. Eventually, the two sisters grew tired of hearing it. One morning, they packed their bags and prepared to leave the house. Kolu stared at them in disbelief. Where are you two going? Eunice picked up her bag. You have chosen your wife over us. Teresa shook her head sadly. Our own brother has betrayed us. Without waiting for another word, the two sisters walked out of the house, leaving Kolu standing there in confusion. For the first few weeks after Eunice and Teresa left, it felt as though peace had finally returned to the family. Ivy and Kolu spent more time together, and Ivy began to believe that everything would finally be fine. She had no idea that the sisters' departure was only the beginning of something much bigger. A few months into the marriage, Ivy discovered that she was pregnant. Kolu was overjoyed when he heard the news. He hugged her tightly and promised her that he would do everything he could to take care of her and their unborn child. But not long after, things began to change again. Kolu was still loving towards Ivy. He never insulted her, never maltreated her, and he never stopped reminding her how much he loved her. But he stopped coming home every day. Whenever Ivy asked about it, he always had an explanation. Work has been keeping me really busy, so I spent the night at my sister's place since it's closer to my office. I'm sorry. And whenever he returned home, he never came empty-handed. He would bring fruits, food, gifts, and different things to Ivy. I saw this and thought of you, he would say with a smile. Ivy would smile back. Thank you, Kolu. She had no reason to suspect him. She didn't want to start questioning everything. 9 months passed, and finally, Ivy gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. The moment she held her son in her arms, she felt a piece of joy she had lost for so long return to her heart. Kolu was overjoyed. He made sure both his wife and their newborn were comfortable and had everything they needed. A few days later, Eunice and Teresa came to visit Ivy and the baby. At first, they smiled as they entered the room, but the moment they looked closely at the baby, their expressions changed. Teresa stared at the baby for a moment before looking at Eunice. Then she turned to Ivy. This baby doesn't look like our brother. Ivy's smile disappeared. What? Eunice immediately cut in. You heard her. She looked at the baby again, before saying something even more hurtful. Take this child to his real father. Ivy stared at them in disbelief. How can you say something like that? Kolo is his father. Teresa shook her head. We don't believe you. Don't expect us to accept this child as our brother's son. The two sisters turned around and walked away. Ivy watched them leave, her heart heavy. She had had enough. She decided to wait for Kolo to return from work because she needed to tell him everything. Kolo returned home late that evening. Ivy welcomed him as usual and allowed him to settle down before bringing up what had happened. Once he had rested for a while, she finally told him everything his sisters had said about their baby. Kolo listened quietly. Then, instead of reacting the way Ivy expected, he reached for the package he had brought home and handed it to her. I bought this for you. You should eat. Ivy stared at him. Kolu, did you hear what I just told you? Ivy, you worry too much. Please don't let what they said bother you. Ivy couldn't believe his response. This isn't something I can just ignore. They accused me of having another man's child. I said don't worry about it. Kolu said again. But why aren't you angry? Kolu remained silent. He simply looked away, avoiding her eyes. Ivy stared at him, confused. That was when she knew something was terribly wrong. The man she married had never taken matters concerning his family lightly. If anyone said something hurtful to her before, Kolu would always defend her. But tonight, he seemed completely different. The conversation soon turned into an argument, and neither of them went to bed happy. That night, Ivy barely slept. By morning, she had made up her mind. She needed to find out what was really going on with her husband. So early the next morning, Ivy woke up and decided to visit her mother. She needed someone she trusted to help her make sense of everything that was happening. Before leaving, she prepared Kolu's breakfast and placed it on the table. Kolu, I have made your breakfast. I'm going to see my mother. Kolu looked at her. Okay, be careful. Ivy nodded and walked out of the house. When Ivy arrived at her parents' home, tears were already streaming down her face. Her mother immediately noticed something was wrong. What happened, my daughter? Ivy broke down and told her parents everything she had been going through. The way Kolu had changed, his constant absence, and what his sisters had said about her baby. Her mother wiped her tears and put her into a warm embrace. Everything will be fine. Don't worry, my daughter. After consoling her for a while, her mother made up her mind. I will follow you home. I need to speak to Kolu and find out what is really going on. She asked Ivy to wait while she got dressed. A few hours later, they were ready and headed to Ivy and Kolu's home, which was only a short distance away. When they arrived, Ivy opened the door. The moment they stepped inside, Ivy froze. Kolu was lying motionless on the floor. Kolu! Ivy rushed towards him and fell to her knees beside him. She touched his body. He was cold. Kolu, wake up. Kolu, please. She shook him desperately, but he didn't respond. Her mother rushed over and joined her. Kolu, can you hear us? But there was no answer. Panic took over. With the help of others, they quickly carried Kolu into the car and rushed him to the hospital. The moment they arrived, the sound of the emergency brought nurses and doctors rushing towards them. They quickly took Kolu from the car and examined him. After a few moments, the doctor slowly shook his head. There is no point admitting him. Ivy stared at him, fear spreading across her face. What do you mean, doctor? The doctor looked at her sadly. He is already gone. Ivy's knees nearly gave way. No. Her mother and the nurses quickly held her as she broke down, but Ivy could barely hear them. It felt as though the entire world had just collapsed. Meanwhile, Eunice and Teresa were at home, laughing and talking as they ate together. Then Eunice's phone rang. She answered it casually, but within seconds, the smile disappeared from her face. What? Teresa looked at her. What happened? Eunice slowly lowered her phone. It's Kolu. They said he is dead. He's at the hospital. The moment Eunice and Teresa heard the news, they rushed to the hospital. When they arrived and saw their brother lying lifeless, Their legs gave way beneath them. They broke down, crying bitterly as they mourned the brother they had devoted their entire life to. But suddenly, Eunice turned towards Ivy, pointing accusingly. "You killed my brother." Ivy stared at her through her tears. "You are a wicked woman. You killed him." Teresa joined her, crying and accusing Ivy. "You came into our family and destroyed everything. You killed our brother." Ivy could barely process what she was hearing. She was still mourning the man she loved. Yet somehow, she had already become the person everyone blamed for his death. Her mother immediately stepped between Ivy and the two sisters. "Leave my daughter alone. Nobody knows what happened to Kolu." And that was the truth. No one knew how Kolu had died. No one knew what happened to him. And soon, one question began to spread through the family. Who killed Kolu? Everyone became a suspect. They all looked at one another in the hospital, not knowing what to do or what to believe. Now that Kolu was dead, what would his two sisters do? Would they finally leave Ivy alone? Or would they fight to find out the real cause of their brother's death? And most importantly, would the truth about Kolu's death ever be revealed? Find out in part 2.